Okay, on this video we're going to demonstrate how to set up and install the software on the client computer. So you'll have a CD that you install the setup file from. You just double click on it, run, and it's going to install the software. It's going to give you the license agreement, review it, make sure you're okay with it, accept the agreement, and move on to next. Now if your computer is doesn't have the .NET 3.5 Service Pack 1 installed or later, or a DirectX 9.0C runtime or later, click on these links here and install them. We go to the next screen. It's going to say the default directory. It's up to you what directory you want to put it in, but we typically put it in the default directory. We're running it on a 64-bit machine right now, but if you're running it on a 32-bit machine, obviously you wouldn't have the x86 there. The next step, again, just typically hit default as far as subfolders. You typically want to create a desktop icon. It's up to you if you want to deselect that. And then when you're all set with all your settings, you just hit install. It's going to install everything, and then defaultly it will launch the program, which we'll do right now. Alright, so the program comes up just as it does on the robot. It came up with the splash screen. If you ever want to see the splash screen again, you just hit about. It'll tell you what version we're running. The program looks very much the same as the one on the robot, and that's because it is the same. Pretty much the only thing that distinguishes the difference between whether you're using the remote or client robot or computer versus the robot is the settings. So we're going to go into the communication settings here. Right now we're using our local IP address. This is the static IP address that the computer is hooked up onto. You want to use a static IP address on the computer and the robot to make sure that every time you boot up the robot computer, you don't get a different IP address that you have to chase down. Now, if you're going to be hooking up from a remote connection, which is going to be pretty common, instead of putting this static IP address in here, you would be putting in your server IP address. And I'll just briefly show what you'd have to do on that. Is you go to your router, you enter in your password, and you go down into your, obviously everybody's router is going to be a little bit different, but you go to your port forwarding. Here in your port forwarding, you select, we've already set it up, the RP2W right here, and you can see that we've set up the ports from 5099 to 5105. You need the full range. Obviously you can use a different range, but it does take a total of 6 ports to set up. So you can just go, we'll just edit since we've already got this in here. So basically all I'm saying is you can put in whatever you want to for a service name. It's TCP, UDP, starting port, ending port, and the static IP address that you want the port, your router to forward it to. So when you connect from an outside source, you type in the static IP address of your computer and the port number, which would be 5099, and it will forward it to the computer at the IP address 192.168.11.125 in our case. So that's about it for setting up a remote connection. like I said, for now we're just going to demonstrate we're on the local address. So we've typed in the static IP address of the computer. This is going to be the client or the remote. We're saying which camera we're using, which microphone we're using, and then you hit. Now, since we're doing it as a client, you don't have comm settings because that was set up in the robot. Same with all these settings. Until you were connected, you cannot change any of these. Once you're connected, you will be able to change those settings. So you hit update and close, and now it's just sitting here waiting. So the first step is to simply connect to the remote device. So you select connect to remote device,